Hey everyone, Ryan Young, KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. I hope you're doing well. Today's video is going to be about playing to win versus playing not to lose. But first, what is KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu? KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu is the Jiu-Jitsu school that was created and is run by Master Dave Kama. Master Dave Kama is a Rickson Gracie black belt. So Rickson Gracie, greatest of all time, as we like to say. And Dave Kama is one of his two black belt contributions, the other being Chris Saunders, into what we call the Dirty Dozen of Jiu-Jitsu, meaning the first 12 non-Brazilians to receive a black belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Arguably, Dave Kama is the best black belt that Rickson Gracie has ever produced. Who knows? That's why I say arguably. Dave Kama has 3 studios, one in Southern California, in Irvine, California, one in Flower Mound, Texas, which is Dallas, and one in Austin, Texas. Come visit us at any one of the academies. We'd love to have you come by. Or contact us via email at kamajujitsu@gmail.com. You can also join us on our website. He's got an online learning platform called kamajujitsuonline.com. And he's got all his curriculum and his technical videos. They're all on there. If they're not on there, they're being put on there as we speak. But we've got hundreds of videos on there now for you to learn exactly how Dave Kama teaches. Anyway, join us there. Also, subscribe if you like the channel, and if you like the video, please go ahead and share this. So back to the subject at hand. Winning versus playing not to lose. So the reason why me personally, have a small problem with tournaments is because just the structure of tournaments kind of makes it hard for us to go for the win at all times. So what tournaments have done through the rules is they've redefined or expanded the definition of a win. So a win, in what I've learned in Jiu-Jitsu since I started back in 1989, a win was a submission, right? You needed to make your opponent quit. Say, yes, I give up, you won, let's do it again. But sometimes that can take a lot of time. Right? I've been in training matches where I go 30, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, where it took me that long for me to catch that person, and that person was trying to subdue me that entire time. But in a tournament, you have a venue for a set amount of time in a day. You have referees, you have scorekeepers, you have all these people that work for the venue or for your tournament, and you have to pay them by the hour. So it's very difficult to have matches that go really long. Now, of course, some matches will go quick, right? There'll be a submission in 5-6 seconds. On the other hand, there might be one that goes 45 minutes or an hour, right? I know they say Helio Gracie, he was in the longest combat fight in human history. So they say about 3.5 hours, something crazy, right? Where they just went unlimited rounds. So you can't do that when you're running a tournament. So what you have to do is you have to expand the definition of tournament. So let's say, you cannot subdue your opponent. Well, what's the next best way to do it? Well, points. Well, how are points calculated? Well, you do these certain things and you get points for them at the end of the 5-minute, 6-minute, 8-minute, 10-minute mark, or whatever, however long the match is. Whoever is ahead on points without a submission, they're deemed the winner. Well, sometimes what you have is a situation where you have a tie. It's gone 10 minutes, the black belts, gone 10 minutes, and the score is tied 10-10. So what do? Then they had to expand it even further. They created advantages. Advantages basically are failed attempts, all right? And you tried to do it, but you couldn't get it. But since you tried, you get an advantage, right? So it could be 10-10. One guy has an advantage, therefore he wins. Another one is through, I guess, a pre-disqualification. I don't know what they call it, but basically it's a black mark against you. So if 2 guys are stalling and, they're not getting taken down, or they're just, fighting each other off in the feet, and the ref gets bored of watching that, the ref will call stalling, or just stalling on one person, whatever. That's a negative, that's a black mark against them, so that if the fight ends up being 0-0 at the end, the one who got the black mark is now down 1 versus the other, and the other will win. So that's an expanded definition of a win. And the last one is, let's say you have a match that's 10-10, right? There's no submission. The score is 10-10, tied at the end of 10 minutes. There are no advantages, and there are no black marks. The last option is for the ref to just go, I think he won. Referee's decision, right? So here's what happens. When you play to win, you're playing for that submission. You're going for that submission, submission, submission. And let's say no matter what you do, you're trying to submit him, but you can't because the guy's defense is just so good. So what you do now is as you're climbing position, you're racking up points, right? You take him down, you pass his guard, you knee in the belly, you mount, you take his back, right? And your points are just going up. Your opponent keeps escaping, 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 but you can't submit him because he can escape out everything. He's an escape artist, but his offense is not good enough to put you on your back and to submit you. But the 10 minutes runs out or it's about to run out, and you know you can't get him. But let's say you're only winning by a point. You're winning 10-9. Then what you think to yourself is, okay, I've got a minute left in this match. I can try for that submission, right? I can go to win in this way. Or I can stall just another minute, just so that he doesn't score a point on me and have me lose, right? Because even though, time ran out and he beat you by points, he didn't submit you. So as far as the submission goes, he didn't subdue you and he didn't win in that way. He won by points. But a lot of people will do this. In fact, I've heard it in one of our students' matches where he had gotten taken down. He got taken down again, and he got taken down a third time. And his coach, told him, go ahead and mount him because there's no stalling. There's no stalling penalty for being in mount. So his coach basically told him to sit on top of mount and, not do anything because he's already ahead on points. So he was playing not to lose. Although, technically winning by points is a win, the whole premise of jiu-jitsu at the start was to subdue your opponent. Not to beat them by points, it was to subdue them. So in my mind, play to win is to get them to submit. Playing not to lose is to stop trying to win, but just trying to maintain. Now, you find that when you do that, it's kind of a risky game because now you're subject to the clock because you're not actively going for a submission. So I'll give you an example. So Chrome Gracie, right, Hickson's son, has the most come from behind victories in all of the IBJJF. As far as I heard, and I heard it was well into the 80s, the amount of times that he's done it. So what that means is that you meet up with Chrome Gracie on the mat and you take him down. You get your 2 points, you pass his guard. That's like maybe another 3 points, I guess. I don't know. You go to knee on belly. That's another 2 points, I think. Don't correct me as far as the points goes. I don't care. And I don't know the points. But let's say because of that, Crone is now down 7-0 against this opponent. This opponent then goes, okay, I'm winning 7-0. Let me go back in cross-side, or side control, some of you might call it, and let me just hold this here, right? Hold it for the remaining 5 minutes of this match. And don't let Crone score. But if he does score, he does get me back in the guard, then I can just pass his guard again. Or even if he's in guard, let me just play defensive in his guard and don't let him sweep me or armbar me or choke me. And I'll just control him there and I'll still win 7-0. That's playing not to lose. The mistake though is that Crone is not playing to do anything but submit you. He's going for everything he's got. He's tying them together. He's trying to choke you, trying to armbar you, trying to sweep you, trying to set up a foot lock, just repeatedly over and over and over and over. And what you're doing, if you imagine a boxer, right? He's just throwing punch after punch after punch, and you're just dodging. Guess what? If he keeps swinging and you don't swing back, eventually he'll tag you. And that's what happens. You got these guys that just try to score points on Crone. Maybe they can't submit him. Maybe his defense is so good they can't submit him anyway, but they can score on him. Why? Because he's going for submission, which means that sometimes when you're going for an arm bar from playing guard, your guard will get passed, right? So that'll be points on the opponent's end and he'll have a failed arm bar. Well, guess what? He'll go and recompose guard again and he'll try again. If you keep letting him try, eventually he'll get it. I kind of think about one match that I had years and years ago. And it was against a guy, it was when I was a purple belt at Hickson's studio. And I went up against a particular purple belt at another school, and he was their best purple belt, and he caught everybody in triangles. That was his thing. So I remember passing his guard. Every time he set up a triangle on me, I'd pass his guard. And I did it about 6 times. And I remember my coach telling me, you're up 12-0. Just hold him, hold him, hold him. And I tried, right? That wasn't in my mentality, but I tried. Because I was dog tired. Because every time he got that triangle on me, it sapped me a little bit, and I had to escape. And then he put it back on me. He got back to guard, put the triangle back on me. It sapped me a little more. So my energy levels just doing this. And my coach told me, it wasn't Hickson, my coach told me, just hold the position, hold them down. You're winning this much, 12-0. And that was playing not to lose. Every time I tried to play not to lose, he would recompose his guard and put me in another triangle. So finally I had to tell myself, you know what? I need to win this thing. Because if I don't win this thing, I don't have any more energy to fight, and he will eventually submit me. So that's what I did. Instead of me trying to hold him in position, I remember popping up the knee and belly and literally pulling him into my guard, because I was just too tired to get to the mount and hold the mount. But I knew if I was on my back, I could cross my feet and I could kind of hold him in there. But since I'm a little guy and I played guard all the time against everybody, I was very comfortable in trying to set up submissions from the back. Well, this is a tournament, so he and I are the same size. But I remember pulling him into my guard, got to knee and belly and pulled him into my guard. And the first thing I've always been trained to do is put my hand on the collar, which is what I did. So I put my hand on the collar, and I'm just thinking, I am so tired, right? And this guy, he's trying to move, he's trying to get out. And I'm just thinking, man, I hope this match ends soon, because I didn't know how much time was left in it. But I thought to myself, you know what? I cannot play not to lose. I have to play to win. So I set up a choke. I set up the hand in the collar and the hand behind the neck. I remember this specifically. And I remember pulling his head down, and he pulled his head back up. So I'm like, oh, okay. So that's the cross collar choke that comes across this way, right? So I did it one time, and he pulled his head up, and I go, okay, so that's what I'm going to set up, because that would allow me to keep my guard closed, right? I didn't want to open my guard, try to set up an arm bar, have him pass me, and then be all over me and submit me, because I had no energy to fight at that point. So I just pulled his head down, he pulled it up, and the second time I pulled it down, he pulled it up. I made room for him, his head popped through, and I choked him. And it was so bad for me. That is all I had. I put everything I had into that choke. And what happened was, I just told myself, it's all or nothing at this point. Because if he gets out of this choke, or time runs out before he taps, if time ran out before he tapped, I'd win 12-0. But I had zero energy, to the point where I thought if I didn't win, it would be over. So I just held on, and I held on, and I held on. Fabio Santos was the ref, and my opponent, he tapped, and he tapped, and he tapped. He tapped a bunch of times, like maybe 4 or 5 times. And I wasn't letting it go, because if he then did the old Brazilian tap and said I didn't tap, and the ref, who was Fabio Santos, didn't see it, then we'd have to resume, and then I'd be completely spent. So Fabio came in, and he literally ripped my hands off of the gi and ended the match. And I ended up winning by submission. But what I'm telling you is that the best case scenario in my mind is for you to play to win. Don't play not to lose, play to win. Because this translates in life. You want to play to win, you don't want to play to lose, because every team that you can think of that played not to lose, they lost. If the other team was playing to win. Now, as a competitor, the best thing that can happen for you is you have an opponent who plays not to lose. If you play to win, more often than not, I'm positive that you will win. And that's the name of the game, right? That's why we compete. We compete to win. You just have to ask yourself, how do you want to win? Right? There was a match that that I remember, that many of you remember. It was Jacare de Souza versus Roger Gracie, right? And Roger Gracie would always play to win. He's always trying to submit you. He never tries to win by points, right? And the world championship match, I don't know how many, it's like maybe 10, 15 years ago, against Jacare de Souza was no exception. Jacare was, I think he was playing for points, whereas Roger was going for submissions. And eventually he did lock up his arm inside of the guard and broke it. And, you know, to Jacare's credit, I mean, he's a gamer. He let that arm get broken. He was not going to tap. And he didn't. The arm got broken. After Roger heard the pops, he let it go because, you know, he doesn't want to maim Jacare. He doesn't want to destroy his arm. He was hoping Jacare would tap. But Jacare, after that, said, I didn't tap, which is true. And the ref said, oh, okay, well, let's start up again then. And then what happened was Jacare ended up played not to lose by running around and not letting Roger get a hold of him. So at the end of the match, Jacare did win the match. He got his arm broken for it. And you see Roger just kind of like, you know, like, yeah, whatever, you know. But that's a difference between playing to win and playing not to lose. You can still, at the end of the day, have that win in your win column by playing not to lose. But I think over time, it's detrimental to you to play that way because you can never finish something. You know, when the clock runs out, you're done, right? Another example of that was Ryron versus Andre Galvao in the first Metamoris. Ryron, he had to kind of bide his time. It was a 20-minute match. He bided his time while Andre just kind of went for everything on him and tried, you know, got position on him. But about minute 15, you say Andre start dying off because he's used to 10-minute matches. And then Ryron Gracie started to pick up like a steamroller, right? And you saw Ryron starting to go for it at that point in time. You know, he found his time. Okay, the last 5 minutes, I'm going to start going and start pouring it on. And he did. Now, at the end of the match, it ended up being a draw because nobody submitted after that. But you could see the difference in game and difference in approach in seeing Ryron Gracie versus Andre Galvao. You know, Andre Galvao in the last 5 minutes was playing not to lose. He was playing to win in the first 15 minutes, but he played so hard that he didn't have any energy left in the last 5 minutes, whereas Ryron was playing defensively for the first 15 minutes and had all his energy in the last 5 minutes, and you could see how things turned. You know, I wonder how it would be if they had an overtime where if at the 20-minute mark there's still no completion of the match, if they had like an automatic 5-minute continuation, you know, see how that would have gone, right? But if you play to win, you also end it sooner. So let's say a match is 10 minutes and you have to be, you know, there's 5 matches to win your bracket. That's 50 minutes of competing potentially if you're playing not to lose. Whereas if you can go for the submission, you could be done with all 5 matches in a minute. In 5 minutes, let's say, in a minute each, 5 minutes total. But a lot of people don't want to do that because it's risky, right? If I go for something, then my opponent will pass my guard and he'll score more points on me. Don't look at the points. Just look at the win. Win by submission. Because in the real world, which is what a lot of you are doing jiu-jitsu for, you're doing it for the martial aspects, right? You're treating it as a martial art, or as I say in another video, martial science, right? Because you want to use it to protect yourself. If your mindset is to play not to lose, how do you think you're going to play to win when the time comes where the need is for you to win? I think it kind of messes with your mind, but you know, that's just kind of a thing that you're just going to have to figure out for yourself. Anyway, I hope this video helped, and I hope it helps you to work on your mindset for your next tournament or for your next match in school or when you go to your buddy's house and train with him or her. That's all I got. Like and subscribe. Share the video if it was worth it to you. Also visit us at KAATARO.online.com.